Let's do the news. Beautiful song there. And I know that you can get more of this when it comes to where you can find it on YouTube. And talking about YouTube, we have a channel, JoyNews TV. It's where also we're streaming live the news roundup right here on the show. And we start with the president describing the tribal tag giving the MPP-led administration as unfortunate. The president, who was addressing the Deba of the chiefs and people of the Anglo State, said the deployment of the military to various regions could not be described as an invasion, explaining the Volta region got just 163 of the over 1,000 personnel deployed across the country following a request by the Ghana Immigration Service. He assured the people of the Volta region they remain an integral part of the nation, adding that government will do everything possible to protect them and also fulfill promises made to them.
Volta region is an integral part of the Republic of Ghana. And military deployments in the region cannot be described as an invasion. Some elements of social media went into a frenzy, mostly with old videos taken in Accra and other parts of the world, being passed on as residents of the Volta region being brutalized by soldiers. It escalated into accusations of ethnic cleansing. And the government that I lead has been labeled as tribalist. While social media is a useful tool for information sharing, it can also be and has been used to magnify small incidents, place pictures, videos, and voices out of context, or simply generate outright fabrication in order to stir up needless ethnic animosity among citizens who are otherwise living peacefully with one another. Feasibility German consultants of the Guitar Harbor are due to be completed soon.
The Ghana Health Service says it is embarking on targeted intervention programs to tackle HIV/AIDS prevalence in Ghana. This came up at a briefing where it was revealed many adolescents who have contracted the disease are dying. Hannah Odami has more in this report.
The latest HIV surveillance report by the Ghana Health Service has identified the newly created Volta region as the region with the highest prevalence of the virus. The region has a prevalence rate of 3.4, followed by the Greater Accra region with 3.2%. Public health specialist Dr. Akufo-Addo, who gave these figures at a news conference Thursday, said the 2019 HIV Sentinel surveillance report examined more than 25,000 samples of the infection across the country.
So Volta is the region now with the highest prevalence of 3.4, followed by Greater Accra 3.2, sharing the same figure with Ashanti region, and 2.9 for Western North and Oti regions, 2.6 for Eastern region, 2.5 for Bono East, 2.3 for Ahafo, 2.1 for Upper East.
He also expressed worry about communities in which the infection is increasing. One of them is Mamobi here in Accra.
It's always been the case that urban prevalence is higher than rural. Urban is 2.5 and 1.5 for rural. And you can see that Mamobi now is the site with the highest prevalence of 4.2, and then Nkranza follows with 4.1.
Dr. Ayisi mentioned targeted interventions to deal with the situation.
We don't want to be general. If you want to achieve epidemic control, we have to be looking at district and smaller areas and target interventions for those areas. So there is a concept of HIV and aging, which we need to pay attention to and address. To be successful, we need to focus on some populations like the adolescents. The adolescents are dying just when they are getting to SHS and all that. Adolescents are being left behind We need to look at both adolescents who are positive and those who are not positive.
He noted the service has shifted its target for eliminating mother-to-child transmission from 2020 to 2023.
The numbers of people who are positive has increased. So relatively now the target has shifted. It means that even the progress we made has suffered, so instead of beyond what we are targeted, we were doing just close to 60% for the first 90. We are not there yet.
For JoyNews, I am Hannah Odame.
The General Officer commanding the Southern Command of the Ghana Armed Forces, Brigadier General Abraham Yabwansia, has disclosed that military operations will continue unabated on Ghana's borders, and this is due to the occurrence of terrorist activities in the West African sub-region. He explained that the continuous stay of the military would also deter terrorists from sneaking into Ghana to foment trouble, especially as the country gears towards the December polls. Brigadier General Insia has been speaking to the media after an inspection tour and interaction with military officers deployed to the Ghana-Togo borders in the Ketu South municipality of the Volta region.
So they are no longer, when we first came, they thought we are come with certain agenda to intimidate them, to harass them. They've seen that that is not true. We are not harassing them, we are not intimidating them. They say that we are very friendly. So the idea that we are relaxed is not true. They know that we are professional in whatever we are doing, we are decent in whatever we are doing, we are not harassing them, we are not intimidating them. So they see us as friendly people. They see us as people who are doing national assignment. They are not scared of us. That makes it seem as if we have relaxed. We are not relaxed. We are still doing the same duty that we started with. To hear or to know, or to hear from someone that soldiers have withdrawn since the registration exercise completed is completely false. It's probably propaganda to satisfy some political experience. But we are not going to be detracted by those sort of negative propaganda. We remain focused. We remain committed to the security of this country. When we feel the national security need, for now we feel the need because there's accelerated terrorist activity within the South region. And we are not going to sleep. We have to secure the border to ensure that no terrorists slip through the unapproved routes. So yes, depending on the security situation within the South region, if we can confidently assess that terrorist activity has slowed down, then we can also scale down here. But we are not going to withdraw completely. We are going to be here for as long as the security need call for it.
Well, so we have to do the newspapers. Being joined by Gifty and Rapia. So we'll go through and see what we have. Good morning to you, Gifty.
Hi, good morning, Roland.
Yeah, great. Wow. So you have to go back a bit. Today it looks like your face is there before, or lower the laptop. Okay, great. So
well, I'm just trying to change, work around my background a bit because I had gotten the feedback. It looks like someone was tired of seeing my curtains. So I was trying to work it out, but maybe we'll get a better view next time. But today we'll do it
because your curtains were always beautiful. They always looked like as if you were in a hotel, but I know that you couldn't have been paying for hotel bills every morning, so that's your home. So I think they should get used to it.
Multimedia gives me the money. Who knows?
Your curtains are beautiful, so I don't know why they'll give you that feedback. But.
Oh, I was just trying to change it up a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. We should work fine.
All right. So which newspapers are you going to do, Gifty?
Right. I've got the Finder newspaper. And apart from the Finder newspaper, I have the BNFT. Fantastic. Apart from the BNFT, I think I also have the Daily Guide newspaper. Great. And then the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Awesome. Please start with the first two and then I'll continue.
Okay, let me start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The Ghanaian Times newspaper is leading with a Japa deal is clean. with the story on page 12. Finance Minister is insisting that the Japa deal is clean. So it comes with a picture of the Finance Minister, Ken Ofoyata. You definitely are looking at it on your screen at this point. And Business Regulatory Reform Portal launched in Accra. That story is on page 13. An MP urges fleeing Domfasi residents to return home. Story on page 12. Police gunned down 2 carjackers at Asamankese, page 3, and man arrested for possessing duplicates of voter ID NHIS cards. Also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, they have an ad, of course, on how to properly wear the mask. But in the center spread, you have the details of the Ejapa deal and why the finance minister claims that it is clean. It has that story there. And then you have the business regulatory platform, that portal, which has been launched in Accra. There are details there. Comes with also a picture of the Minister for Trades and Industry, Mr. Alan Chamating. Then Ghanaians entreated to keep adhering to COVID-19 safety protocols. Also a picture with the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. And then you have that story on the MPs urging residents of Domfasi who are fleeing to return home. On the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, you have KIA being readied with facilities for reopening. Story was written by Claude Nyako Adams. And they have pictures of, I can't really see who, but it looks like a delegation going through the airport trying to figure out whether we're ready. And the national HIV prevalence among pregnant women drops, but regional figures vary. So that's it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper. I'm going to move quickly on to the Daily Guide newspaper. Find out. I love the picture on the Daily Guide newspaper. You can't destroy my wife, says Rawlings. That story is on page 3. And there's a beautiful picture of Mr. Rawlings, former President Rawlings, planting a very nice and firm peg on the cheek of his wife, Nana Rajma Rawlings, and she is smiling, the smile of satisfaction and of contentment right there. Very beautiful one, I must say. So that story is on page 3. It certainly has to do with Professor Ahoy's book and all the, the outcomes from that release of that particular book. You want to take a look at that story. And Takrady Girls Kidnappers Trial Stars. That story is on page 6 of the newspaper. And Mahama pokes Nana at Manhyia. Also on page 3. Zongo Guru Lords Baumia Impact. Page 6 has that story. Then we have right at the corner of that newspaper, Ejapa benefits grateful Ghana. That's the story by the finance minister. Then president opens 97.184 meter Keta waterworks. Million, sorry, I beg your pardon. 97.184 million euros, I guess. Yeah, I think so. That story is on page 3. That's on the Daily Guide front page. Let's take a look at the back page of the Daily Guide newspaper. Then I can take a breather for Roland to continue. Back page, keep supporting Kotoko. Kufuor tells fans and boycott Congress if Wilfred Kweku Osei Palmer is the one saying that. If what? Take a look at that story written by Kofi Owusu Eduonu on the back page of the Daily Guide newspaper. Then COVID-19 strikes Pogba. PSG monitors Messi situation. Lots of people are talking about the Messi situation, whether he should go.
He won't leave.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So, Roland, let's go with you, and then I'll come back with the rest.
Fantastic. I like the encouragement by the former president, John Ejekumpkufor, that we should keep supporting Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Great club. If you know the history of that club, great club. Please, if you are a new supporter of any club, please make sure you convert to Kumasi Asante Kotoko.
Phobia.
I swear. Phobia is hers, eh?
Of course.
I don't even remember. That's what I'm asking. Let's go to the Daily Graphic. Daily Graphic has on the front page a Japan deal in the country's interest. As according to the finance minister, there was a whole press conference that was convened. We brought that to you as well. The finance minister is also tied to the front page story of the Daily Graphic. Mr. Ken Oforiatta has been captioned there. I love the way he is in the white. It means he wears the white every day. That's great. Great collection of a wardrobe you have. Wow, white. Great.
You can wear the same shirts for a whole year. No one will even notice.
But not the finance minister. Man, damn. The man is rich. Why should he be?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, gifty. That's why okay. You Maria hope out. So let's go. 2020 Ghana Teacher Prize launched. And then Aviation Ministry readies for KIA reopening on September 1. Yeah, we're open. Gifted, you know, Mapiso Sebidi wants to come in by September 1. So we are waiting for this date. That's why
there are so many people who are waiting for the day. I just hope that we'll be careful enough, you know, with COVID and all of that.
I'll give to you did everything, then you have to bring negative. I don't know how to say. Yes, and I mean, be optimistic.
I'm very optimistic. It's just a reality.
I know this, you are speaking reality, but Charlie, my ideal situation kakram. Why? Okay, so we have the back page. Operation 1019 destroys 67-acre cannabis farms at Boso. Wow. Cannabis, Charlie. But cannabis farming, it's fetching a lot of money abroad. Anyway, so we have 1980 alumni of the University of Ghana Medical School assisting their alma mater, and they handed over a mechanized borehole with water treatment equipment and refurbished clinical skills and simulation center to the school at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital in Accra. So it means that they have mechanized boreholes because Charlie, constant supply of water to the medical school at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital is not assured. I don't know what. Anyway, I'm waiting for you to comment on this. Is serious. This one, yeah, if you go negative, I agree.
Hang on, I think I missed you briefly. Okay. What was the story again?
Okay, so there's a story on the back page of the Daily Graph. It talks about the 1980 alumni of the University of Ghana Medical School assisting alma mater. And apparently, do you know what they handed over to their alma mater? A mechanized borehole with water treatment equipment and a refurbished clinical skills and simulation center. Now, my thing is with the mechanized borehole. In the center of Accra, we are augmenting supply with a mechanized borehole. I'm not saying it's wrong.
That's great news, of course.
Yeah, it's great news, but it also means that public water supply is not constant, right? Anyway.
But that's great news, whichever way you look at it.
Okay, I'm calling it. Let me look at the Statesman. So I have the Statesman, front page of the Statesman. No agenda against Volta Region. The president declares. And then we have electricity tariffs to reduce further. MPP promising 2020 manifesto. Government to set up Kente Craft Village on the back page. England's Paris sent off, but Lyon reach 9th Women's Champions League final. And then we have down there a number of matches also in the Champions also after suffering. Okay, no. So we have European football also getting your update. Gifty, please continue. Gifty. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I unmuted. I was trying to, I'm just still trying to figure out the background. Let's see. So let me just go back to the newspapers and what I have. And then whilst you're talking, I'll be able to, try and shift myself a bit.
Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead, Gifty.
Yeah, I've got the Finder newspaper. I'm sure my background is looking better now. I've got the Finder newspaper. I've done the Finder newspaper. On the Finder newspaper, one headline, no ethnic agenda against Volta. Stories on page 2. Ignore the political advantage mischief. That's President Akufo-Addo telling Voltarians right there. On top of that story, you have assemblies invest 4.5 billion cedis in 4,686 infrastructural projects, according to the minister. Page 5 has that particular story. And cocoa Major complete 28.3 hectare automated drip irrigation project. Stories on page 9. Nothing fishy about Ejapa royalties. Ken Ofuriatta, the finance minister, is saying that Roland in this picture is not wearing white, but he's still wearing a white shirt.
I think this one was at one of the World Bank meetings. You know,
looks like
the spring
an old
meetings
picture, actually.
It's not really old, but when he was finance minister, because I remember one of those meetings, he was wearing this. Yes.
Okay. Etiwa District Farmers petition Cocoa Board to clamp down on illegal mining. That story is on page 2. And yes, that's it for the front page of the Find That newspaper. Back page quickly. CPC strategic to government industrialization agenda. That's according to President in that story written by Daniel Nono in Tema. A new VALCO board to roll out 5-year recovery plan. That story is also right there on the back page of the Finder newspaper. Let me move on quickly with the BNFT. BNFT's banner headline, COVID, actually has 2 very big stories on the front page. So COVID-19 throws a major spotlight on corporate insolvency. Must be a very interesting analysis they've done with this particular story. That's according to BOG, Bank of Ghana. And 11,657 formal private sector jobs lost due to COVID-19. That's according to the Employment Ministry. See that story on page 3. And government woos investors with business regulatory reforms. Comes with a picture of the industry, the trades industry minister, Alan Chamating. Once again, Ejapa deal is a novelty. Ken Ofuriatta provides additional income at almost no cost, he's saying. Then don't think COVID-19 is gone. Wear a mask. Kojo Nkrumah, the information minister, is saying that. Take a look at which other parts of the newspaper we have. Okay, so you have on part of the inside pages, you have the story about the Ejapa deal, you have the COVID-19 is on page 3. So all of those stories on the front page, you can find them there, right there. Let me take a quick look at the other, government woos investors with business regulatory reforms. Let's encourage more agriculture exports. That's a story that's been told by director of the Tema Port. And they've got some cartoon there as well. So back page of the BNFT. Olam donates medical supplies to 3 hospitals to support fight against COVID-19. And government will help CPC to be more profitable. Those are the stories on the back page of the BNFT. Roland, did I go through the daily guide already?
Yes, you did.
I did. Okay. I think
the dispatch. You don't have the dispatch. I've noticed.
I know I don't have dispatch.
Okay.
I think
so let me quickly just do the dispatch, and then we do our take or picks quickly. The dispatch does the daily dispatch has on the front page. Looking forward to John Mahama. People voted against you out of disappointment and anger. Okay, and that's a caution. So that do things right, and we know this has been occupying the pages over the last 2 days. Students react well to provision of hot meals in majority of schools. Kwekubako on Akufo-Addo and Mahama debate. And then on the back page, it says, soldiers leave Dom Fase after retrieving seized guns. Well, Gifty, what's your pick this morning?
Well, that's a story that you've been on, Roland. What's happening in Dom Fase. It's a rather terrible story. I'm not sure how it's going to end, but the good thing, though, is that now we have the military withdrawn from the place, now that they've been able to retrieve the arms that they were looking for. So it's a good thing. But I'm also thinking about the sort of trauma it may have left, especially the aged, the children in this particular community. And it tells you the time bomb we're sitting on as far as the bigger problem is concerned. land guard and land issues, you know, the issue, all the issues that we've had. And it doesn't matter who you are in this country, you seem to have a problem when it comes to land acquisition. We need to regularize it. And that's a conversation that we've had so many times on the Pulse, you know, trying to look at how people can safely buy land, etc. I think that we really need to do something about it, because more and more we're getting proof that we have not been able to deal with that problem or that subject adequately. And you're seeing what happened in Donfase. What if, I mean, the possibility that so many people could have died was so high. And we just thank God that it didn't happen. So I don't know if the story is over. You have the young people who are told who have all fled from this community. They're probably going to come back. But is the substantive issue, has a substantive issue been dealt with? Is it over? How is it going to be over? What has to be done? Roland, I mean, you were on the ground, so I wouldn't take the sail out of your wind.
Well, and I believe that the two of us haven't had the opportunity to have maybe a broader conversation on this, because I always said, because you're very much close to issues of security reporting, sometimes you get to pick out. And two things or 3 points that I picked up from this scenario. One, I thought the scenes or the pictures of seeing soldiers brutalized, I don't know how it makes the army feel or even makes soldiers feel. Two, while their presence was supposed to be a reactionary event because of what was meted out to their colleagues, it also put fear in the community. Three, when I went to that land that was under dispute, it also gave me thoughts that the issue of our land administration, I don't know. We have the best experts who go and do the surveys or the feasibility issues. The administration, we still, as a country, have not been able to get grips with. So it means that if you buy land, you have the resources to control that land until you put a property on it forever, then the land belongs to you. And this one, we're talking about a chief who says that I have the right to claim ownership. And then because he has the resources, he is able to pull people of power onto the land so that he's able to undertake his project. Now, I'm thinking, if I am in a position where I buy land and I can pull people of power, and I'm not talking about people in high places, whether they're security, etc., or land guards, and pay them, it means that I will lose my land. I mean, that's what it speaks volumes about. And that's what I pick from all these past events.
Yeah, I mean, this is not something we've not said before.
Exactly.
This is something we've spoken about over and over again. So, but like every other thing in this country, we wait till it blows up in our faces in a very, in Donald Trump's, to borrow Donald Trump's way, bigly, before we take the necessary action. I mean, one advice that I have for people, and I don't know how people take this, but as much as possible, do not try to get in the way of the military. And I'm saying this, I mean, nobody has any right to take the law into their own hands. The military, not even the president, nobody is above the law. That's what we say. But sometimes the reality on the ground, Roland, you and I know. Now, when you touch a police officer, you release the wrath of the police officer on you, okay? So you may have some cameras there that will be able to capture what the actions of the police officers are. You may have human rights people come out and speak and all of that. But you touch a police officer, you touch a military personnel, you touch any security personnel, you sort of release the wrath of their colleagues on them, because they then begin to feel like, I mean, they should be. So I just hope that I won't be taking like what I'm saying will be understood. That do not allow a police officer or a military officer to release their wrath on you. I mean, sometimes we'll talk about it, but you will not probably at the end of the day get the sort of justice that you require. So when these military officers went there to Donfase, they may have gone about their work professionally, but we've seen from history that not all of them, when they are released like that, get very professional. So they can get on the ground and do all kinds of things to you, and you will not get the redress that you needed, because in the heat or in the spur of the moment, all kinds of things go on. So why do we have to go through? And you see, these are men in uniform. These are men in uniform, and we ought to respect them. We ought to respect the uniform, because that is it is a symbol of our sovereignty. It's a symbol of our. It's a symbol. How do I phrase this? But I mean, just respect the uniform at least, and don't put yourself, in the middle of that crossfire. So, I hope that we will be able to deal with what's happening in Domfase, and that the people can gradually get their lives back, and normalcy will return. But it looks to me like that outstanding land, it's still a land issue is still outstanding and has to be dealt with. Roland, I don't know, but it's difficult to wrap your mind around.
I know that 3 days ago we're talking about the meals that were provided, the hot meals, and if you look at page 11 of the dispatch, it says the national coordinator of the National School Feeding Program, Dr. Gertrude Koshiga, is cautioning the providers or the preparers of the meals that they should forget about profit, treat students like their own. And I believe, because, the reason why I'm bringing this back is it looks like for many communities, or the larger percentage of the population targeted, they seem to be satisfied with what they got or are getting. And so this call by the national coordinator, I believe, also just puts matters into perspective. And so while we want to raise issues about the sort of meal, whether the ingredient or the nutritional level was up to scratch, it also means that it's the fault of the individual caterers. That's where we've got into. And so because of those reports, we're reacting the way we are. But then it also will speak volumes about how well we're able to supervise this. Because it looks like where the caterers will see they don't have the prying eyes of the public or the scrutiny of authority, then they want to enforce or do what they like. And I think that the supervision should be done right.
That's one of the biggest problems that we have in this country, monitoring. We can put money in projects and pump so much money in project, but at the end of the day, nobody's monitoring, especially when it's a government project. So people do whatever they want. It's one thing putting in the money and sitting, putting it out there in the media that, caterers, do what you have to do and give the children the best, treat them as your own. How many people here treat them as your own? We all know that we have to do the right thing, but we don't. Point is, there's a statement that we have in multimedia. I've forgotten, but it essentially talks about the fact that you will get. Of the fittest. Say again? No. It's like you get forgotten. I will try to remember. Maybe not today. Even if it's Monday, I'll write it down. Okay. But it's essentially about getting results from what you monitor and not just leaving it to happenstance. Things don't just happen. You have to monitor it. When the people know that they're being monitored, they will do the right thing. Nobody will do the right thing because they felt like, taking care of the people like your own. It just doesn't happen. But I'd like to comment on the Ijapa. Yesterday we don't
have time. I think our time is up.
Well, I do have a few minutes, don't I? Yesterday, we had a whole Ministry of Finance, organize a press conference. You had the Minister for Information there as well. And I think that after that, there are still outstanding questions that ought to be answered. And I think that the CSOs have been raising these key issues. I think they make a point that the process has to be suspended for a while, but so that there will be more consultation and better understanding, and we see how they think that they're setting government or Ghana is setting a bad precedent. And I think they're raising issues that ought to be looked at rather than do what we do best, quickly rush through things and then wrap it up. I think we should give it some time and see how it goes. I mean, these are my thoughts, not like it'll be. I hope I am listened to, but those are my thoughts. I think that there are still outstanding issues there that need to be dealt with. Like you're saying, you're rushing me out, so I can't even.
It's not me. The time. I'll give to you. Gifty, when are you returning to work?
Monday, God willing.
Oh, great. We'll miss you. We'll miss you from today.
Will miss me?
We'll miss you from today tomorrow, and Sunday. Monday we'll see you. enjoy the day, Gifty.
Have a great day. You too.
Yeah, you too. You too. All right. So for all the things that we have to do, please make sure you get interactive. Let's bring you the main page, myjoyonline.com, the most progressive, educative, great current affairs, as well as other news content provider in Ghana right now. myjoyonline.com has on its main page the lead story that you see soon, and also give you a great indication as to what you need to grab by way of the latest news headlines throughout the rest of the day. It's always updated up to the minute, and so that's where you get it. myjoyonline.com will also give you all the best update. And this one, it says there's no political ethnic agenda against Volta Region. Akufo-Addo. There's a caption there. You go up, you get other stories also posted as well, and you get all those updates right here. Oh, we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you the latest sports update. You stay with us. Well, let's start a conversation. I'll also be joined by Benis Abubedu in the course of the conversation. And then I'll try as much as possible for Roving today. We'll go to market near. We did tell you about that conversation that we want to have at the market, in which we also want to gauge, since March when we had the announcement of that 2 cases, and how we've been able to manage the lockdown period, follow through the restrictions, and now with ease all these restrictions, and life is now getting back to normalcy. How are the markets faring? What are the prices? How are the market women been able to navigate all this? And we'll bring you all that. We'll go to one of Accra's biggest markets and try and engage the situation at least by the next 30 to an hour. But as we do that, please, we have this conversation. It's about career women, and not only in media, but also across the corporate world and the informal sector. So we want to start this conversation by asking ourselves, how have they been able to progress so far? What are their challenges, and what do we do to improve the situation? We do have on stream Ifua Chidi. She is an advocacy, communication and brands manager for SOS Children's Villages Ghana, but also she has had varied experiences in gender advocacy, improving human rights, etc. She's really a practitioner, so that's a good one there. We also do have the program assistant, United Nations Population Fund, Akufo-Addo Japan also joining us this morning, and Doreen Bafo, CEO for Branch Out, and we'll ask her what her experiences are in this whole sphere. Now, good morning to all of you ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, great. Now, let me start with you, Akufo-Addo Japan. Just wait for me.
Hey.
Now, great. How has it been for you? I mean, just take me through the genesis. How you started getting yourself into mainstream work. What was the reception initially? And then how far you've come to progress to that position of being the program assistant, United Nations Population Fund Office.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I would say that I have been lucky, because from the onset, I have had mentors who took me through the different stages of my life, of my career, of what I wanted to do. I started out as a volunteer with the Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana. And I remember the executive director at the time, Dr. Muzo, he was the one to talk to you, to coach you, and take you through, whatever you were doing at PPAG. And gradually through that, as I finished university and Legon, I also got into the United Nations Population Fund, and there our current country representative, Mr. Niyo Jolape, was just also a mentor. And he actually created a UNFPA, an opportunity for young people to come into the agency. So he created a fellowship within UNFPA to draw young people. and he specifically wanted more females. So within the structure of the fellowship, there were more girls than there were boys. And that brought us into the United Nations system. And from there, it was kind of like, we just morphed into whatever positions that we really wanted to get into. So I would say that by virtue of the fact that the mentors in my life have been, conscious in terms of pushing females and ensuring that like people like me were able to get to our full potentials, I have been able to get to where I am.
It's an interesting question I want to ask you though. Have you had all your education in Ghana?
No, so I'm currently a master's student, a Master of Law student in politics and international relations. I school in Peking University in Beijing, and I came home for the vacation, and then this coronavirus started. So yeah, so I'm currently there, and that's where I'm doing my master's. I will complete next year.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, your formative years. I mean, have you always schooled until going to China?
My formative years entirely in Ghana.
Okay.
I went to Bishop Bauer School in Latibi Okoshi. Then I went to Holy Child in Cape Coast. Then I went to University of Ghana. So my entire formative years, it was here deeply rooted in Ghana.
Great, great. If you'll be the last, sorry, because when you start your bomb, it's the different thing. So,
oh my God.
but branch out. When you were starting branch out in the first place, would you say that when it comes to the preparation compared to what Akosua has been telling us, you were groomed in a way based on the education you had, whether it was in Ghana or abroad, etc. Or you were groomed to be the CEO. Doreen, let me ask you that.
No, so I had my education in Ghana as well, and branch out it's my side gig. I started my life in corporate Ghana, I think must have been 2001. And I, every 4 years, found myself doing something new. I jokingly call myself a promiscuous employee. I kind of see projects. I jump in when there's something to be done. But when it becomes routine, I get bored. So I start looking for the next opportunity. So I've not held the same role twice. So I started branch out to fill a gap at a particular stage in my life when I was figuring out what I wanted to do. This was in 2013. So I really just modeled what I had seen in corporate Ghana, and I have been fortunate. I've actually had the privilege of working in quite a bit of the multinationals in Ghana in the financial services sector. So I modeled what I had seen my leaders do, but I also modeled what I had seen. I got into coaching in 2013 as well. So I modeled what my coaches outside Ghana spoke about and what I aspired to. Thankfully, online exposes us to quite a bit. And you can model what kind of leadership you want to see in your space and what kind of structures you want to build. So Branch Out is still a growing brand. I'm learning and building it at the same time. I've done different things with it. It started as a learning and development intervention firm. Over the period, I've branched out. I've done a bit of recruitment within that space. I'm still figuring out what I really want to do with it. But the beauty of it is that I'm growing with it and feeling the need I see in the space I find myself. So currently we focus a lot on personal mastery, self-leadership, in coaching, training, mentoring, and leaders in transition. So people move from one level of leadership to another and want to figure out how to hit the ground running. So that's what I do, but I still work full-time in corporate Ghana.
Yeah, there's a question I'll ask you later, but if we're, and I know your response, I will get to ask the next question. What usually are some of the inhibitions? Okay, what usually are the variables that don't, that girls who, or young women who want to enter the workplace, they don't get themselves prepared for?
Most girls don't prepare for the gender shock, as I like to call it. In corporate Ghana, mostly, there is a lack of gender diversity. People, most bosses, I may say, are set in their own mind that it gets done better by a man. And so, whereas men are handed over opportunities on a silver platter, for a woman to get there, you have to work the extra mile to prove your worth. You have to be ready to face all sorts of challenges, doubts. And most of these women are not emotionally and physically prepared for this. And so they get there and they get the gender shock and get confused along the way.
If you say gender shock, what do you mean? Is it discrimination? What really do you mean?
Like I did mention, we have a general lack of gender diversity. She is a woman. She won't be able to do it. Generally, you know, we have barriers that inhibit women from progressing. Barriers such as marriage, pregnancy, and she is a girl. You see women climbing up the corporate ladder, and the first thing that comes to the mind of non-thinking males is she is slipping her way to the top, not taking into consideration how far she has had to work to get there. And so you see women at the top, and there is all sorts of murmuring behind her. People don't believe in her. And like I said, we have to work the extra mile to prove that we can make it happen. That is what I mean by gender shock. They're not ready mentally for the kind of situations they meet when they get into the corporate places.
Okay. So, Akosia, you said you were mentored. So you had some expectation and you had some picture in mind as you were making entry. What was your experiences, one? Second, the experiences of others around you in relation to what she has just narrated?
Right. So what she said is absolutely true in corporate Ghana, not even just in corporate Ghana, but all over the world. Luckily, and I'll say again, luckily for me, because Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana is a sexual and reproductive health agency, and there's a policy that actually calls for diversity and the inclusion of women. The president of our councils had, for the time I was in PPAG, were women. That was the current vice chancellor for KNUST was our last president on the council. And in the United Nations Population Fund, again, the stress is on diversity and the inclusion of women. And so as much as possible, the parity at UNFPA Ghana is worked on so that it is achieved between male and female. Now, in my experience, I would say that I did not experience, the shock that Ifa is talking about here, only because of the fact that the nature of the organization, the nature of the workplace. So there is efforts made to make sure that there are policies that back the inclusion of women. There are policies that make sure that you are taking into account the fact that women are capable and that they can do, whatever it is that you give them to do. But then that doesn't mean that just because this is happening even at the country level, remember UNFPA Ghana is at the country level, that, in other parts of the world that we see the same thing, or even in other organizations that we see the same thing. So there are differences. And I would say that the differences here is because there is policy and there is effort that is made consciously recognize that we need to diversify in terms of gender. In other organizations, there is not that conscious, efforts put in there. So people, and now I'll branch out from the UN, like other friends of mine that have branched out, that have tried to go into other sectors in the corporate world, have seen this type of discrimination. And it's not glaring in your face. It's as little as, let's say, going for NHIS and you, the girl, is sent to go and buy food, and the boy is given papers to go and print. It's becomes as simple or as little as that, or as big as I've gone for a particular interview, but then the boss says that I should sleep with him first, or I should come over his hotel at 9 p.m. It goes as huge as that. And I know some people who are within my circles who have had to give up really great opportunities and change their life trajectory entirely because there are problems, or there are these kind of inhibitions within the places that they go to. So I feel that the policy is very important, and making sure that your employers, your employees, everybody is on the same page, that they have been consciously trained to understand that just because I am a woman doesn't mean that I cannot do A, B, and C. Because that is also one thing that we have in the UN. You will take courses, you will go to trainings, and make sure that you are thinking, you are making sure that you're thinking in the way that is not gender biased. So that would be my experience and the difference that I've had from others.
You seem to have landed yourself in organizations that seem to promote the culture of inclusion. I have my colleague here, Benis Abubedu, but before she comes in, but you can also see her, say hi to her before.
Hello, good morning. Good to have you all.
Okay.
Hey. Good morning.
Good morning.
And she will also continue the conversation. I want to hurry up to the market today. Not that I know how to cook, just to ask prices of stuff. But before I do that, I want to ask you one question, Doreen. The way you are, you're impatient. So one of the phrases in your dictionary will be that, look, I won't take nonsense. So which of the things that in your experiences in the corporate world where you think were foolish and nonsense that are pervasive in others, that others cannot just surmount, that they do against women?
Okay, so a very interesting example would be, and this it's not probably happening very consciously, but I joined corporate Ghana when I married really early. So I joined corporate Ghana with a little son. And when meetings, and I joined the financial services sector, so if there's a meeting scheduled for 7:30 or 7:45, and you have a young kid, I think a lot of people are oblivious of the fact that you're combining two full-time roles, or when there's the expectation that work actually starts in the back office after 5 when you close to the public, and you have to do homework on the phone because then the little gentleman at home or the little lady at home needs help in one way or the other, or you have to supervise what's happening in your space at home and manage what's happening at work. So those are the subtle things. One of my friends puts it very nicely. She said when she rose to the executive, the ESCO level, she sat at the table one day and realized she was the only lady, and they were fixing a meeting the next day for 7 a.m. And she was wondering in her head, how would they drop their kids to school? How would they hurry up in the morning, do all of that, and then get there at 7? And then it suddenly hits her. They all have wives. And she thought to herself, oh my God, I need a wife. I'm going to get me 2 wives. So for me, those are the subtle things. I won't put it as not taking nonsense. I will put it as learning the act of connecting so you can communicate what it is that you're looking for, which is one thing that we are not really taught. There are these expectations. And lately I question them. I ask myself, who put those expectations in my head? Because it's not as if somebody said to me, get up in the morning on a Saturday when you live at Chimota and drive all the way to Aguglushi or Malata to get the stuff. It was just me role modeling what I had seen and not ever questioning why I did that. But at a point, I needed to stop and say, you know what, why do I do the things that I do? Because then it was daunting, you know? And when I started doing those reflective introspection for myself, then I began to drop a number of those things. But thankfully, like Akosia, I also have had the benefit of fantastic interventions, training, coaching, that helps me do my reflective introspection and ask questions in a very emotionally intelligent way. So I don't go, you know how they say everybody comes with their emotions and my personality is wired to want the facts and speak to it and ask for what is due me, you know. So it helps when you really early in life get that exposure to say, you know, you can ask for the things you want, just be able to connect to the one you're asking or you're having that communication with. Because really, my bosses have all been very, very different and at different phases in my life. There's one who said, this is me going to ask to come into the branch at 9 o'clock and close at 6 instead of 5, you know, so I'll start late and close late. And he genuinely said back then, but if all the women on my team, and I think we were about 9 women on his team, if all the women on my team wanted to do that, how would we get the branch started? And it felt, back then, at that phase in my life, it almost felt like I needed to step out and find myself a job that fitted my life at that time. And I remember typing out my resignation letter and having a conversation with my mom, and she says, you don't jump foolishly. In 2 years, the situation will be very different. So you need to have considered, it has to be really considered. You don't leave because you're upset. You leave because it's a considered action. So for me, those are those subtle things that in your corporate life as a woman, stares you in the face, especially if you're raising a family. It's almost like you need a wife to make it work, you know, and you are the wife, and you're sitting at a table with people who have wives or a support system, and you suddenly realize, oh, hold on, where's my wife to help me in this, you know? So for me, those are the subtle things. I wouldn't say I don't take nonsense. My very wiring, I'm not in your face like that.
Okay.
Just
all right. I have to leave the conversation, but I'll leave with this. No, it's not a question. It's just yesterday evening, my kids, 11 and 13 boys, and they've been taught how to do basic cooking. So they can do some gravy, some rice, fry the egg, and do something. And they experiment through YouTube as well. And they called out, and it's been 2 days running. They called out they were hungry. And I said, your mom is at work. You don't have a maid. So who will do the cooking for you? Because when your mom comes, she'll come at 10. So please, you better get some food, because there's everything else for you to do. You know, get some food. So it's about the role modeling that we see in our society, so that they don't tend to replicate that to somebody's daughter someday.
And kudos to the new set of parents. I think that we're consciously training our boys to that realization that your nutrition should not be based on another person, or that nutrition is not gender biased, or that having a clean environment, it's not a case of gender. It's that my environment is not how I want it, and I want to keep it. I need to keep it clean. I'm hungry. I need to eat. You know, so it's not a gender issue. It's me, my life, and owning it, you know. So I really want to congratulate today's parents. I feel that we haven't done that for this current generation. So we've raised a set of very ambitious, go-getting women, and we don't have the men to support that. But currently, I think we're backing that up. So I worry for this current generation, but for the next generation, it looks like we're taking efforts to make that happen. But currently, there's a set of very ambitious, go-getting women who know how to express, who know how to connect, and the men haven't. There's the set of men to match that is a bit challenging.
It's a great point you raised there, but let me just welcome Abunaya Boapin, and she's a lecturer at the University of Ghana. She's joined the conversation. So let me give you the opportunity to share your thoughts on climbing the ladder of success for women. You are in academia, and quite recently we've seen a lot of women rise to the top position when it comes to universities, and it's quite encouraging for a lot of young girls. But really, is it that easy for you in that system to get to that level?
First, let me say good morning to all of you, and sorry for not being able to join as early as I had planned. Interesting conversations. I've been in the background listening in, and I'd like to add my voice to everything that's been said so far. They are all very, very true. I agree with all of them. The climb to the top, and I'm not by this suggesting in any way that I am at the top, I am not, but the journey is what I can talk about. It's not easy, and I'd reckon it's not easy whether you're a man or a woman, but it just so happens that for the woman, it's slightly a bit more, why am I saying slightly? It's a lot more not easy when you're the woman. And some of the reasons, without re-echoing everything that's been said, would come from the fact that if you're a woman, mature woman working, most times you are two human, in fact, you're three human beings. You're a worker, you're a mother, you're a wife. 3 full-time jobs, all of them pulling at you, and they all want you to satisfy their needs at the same time. So suddenly, you who were not prepared from childhood to do that, because childhood, you were, at least our generation, you were quite well trained to do the mother. You were quite well trained to some extent to do the wife. At the time we were growing up, the orientation wasn't so much about training you that well to be that employee who will find herself as the only woman sitting at a table with a lot of men. And so you grow up and suddenly you have these 3 huge roles all pulling at you, and somehow you must play the superwoman role and be successful at it. Because the office is not going to congratulate you for failing to come to the meeting early, nor are your children going to congratulate you for not being there to feed them when they were hungry. The husbandman will not congratulate you for seeing to the office, seeing to the child, but not doing the wifely things also. And so when you look at the 3 things that the mature working woman is having to combine in her journey up, it's a daunting journey to have to travel. All those things are pulling at you, and you must try and satisfy all of them. But thankfully, I think that we are able. I mean, the women of Ghana and elsewhere have shown over time that we're very resilient. A lot of hard situations come at us, but we triumph. And so it's a journey that is hard, but it's also a journey that we are able to travel. And we will keep traveling till we get to the point where the societal systems are such that there's more support for doing the home than there is now. So that you can easily combine, and also that there is more recognition from the office side for the contribution you're making to society by being a woman, a mother. It's a sacrifice we're making for society. We don't play that role, society would not be in the shape that it is. And so maybe a bit of recognition from the office side to may make the journey a bit less difficult for women.
All right. Ladies, like Dr. Yabwa Benin said, I'm sure for all of us, we've not gotten to the top. We all have aspirations. We still want to move ahead. But what I want us to do right now is to help that young girl who is sitting at home watching us today, or that woman who is saying, I want to be like one of these women, but how do I go about it? Usually that's the challenge, the how. So I just want, in turns, all of us to share. Let me start with you, Ifwa Chidi. Name tagging, bullying. Women are usually called too hard. You're not welcoming. You're this, you're that. You know all the kind of harsh descriptions that are given to women who are ambitious and want to make it in career as well as combining home and all. How do we deal with the name tagging and bullying? How does a woman, because let's not forget the emotional bit of this. Look, we appear to be strong, but sometimes these things really get to us.
I'll start by saying that every Every girl I've had to mentor will tell you the first thing I tell them is to be themselves, to close their ears in their space and become who they want to be. Because if you really want to listen to the name calling and everything, you're not going anywhere. It'll rather bring an emotional side of you that makes it easy for them to prey on you more. In my professional journey, I've had men resign because a woman has been made the head of team or head of department. They think, I have a wife at home who's older than you. So who are you to come and be my boss? I better leave. And I say, good luck. I encourage girls to speak candidly. Be yourself. Believe in yourself, because you can only deliver if you know what you want to do. You can only achieve what you want to achieve. So start by working on yourself. Build a system that nobody can break, no matter what storms come your way. And so it starts by being you. And that is the only way you can impact.
Well put. Doreen, now to you, Doreen. Let me find out. You mentioned that you wanted to resign because you had a child, you wanted to come in late and close late. I think that's a good deal, isn't it? I mean, if I say, boss, look, I'm going to work the same number of hours, but just permit me because I have a child. And this brings to mind support systems, even at work and home. It's very important. Young women, especially being a first-time mother, having to be at work, wondering what's happening with your child, who's with a house help you barely know, you know, and all these things sometimes even affect productivity. So for that person watching who is saying, look, I've heard you ladies, just help me navigate this journey. How do I wrap my mind around work and home and a child and a husband without a good support system?
Yeah, so without a good support system, I would say, I think that we struggle to ask for help. Somehow our orientation is that because you have to be this superhuman being. So in asking for help, then you've failed, or you are less than than who you've been raised to be. I would say build that support system. Lately, when I speak to women, I say that a lot of us complain that we don't have great leaders, or our bosses are not that great. But then when you consider the relationship between you and the domestic support that you've recruited into your space, you realize that you probably are doing worse than your boss, you know? So when you're bringing in that support system, if we can figure and begin to conscientize ourselves that this is actually me employing somebody in my space, and do all the right due diligence, so that you're comfortable with this person, but also go through the real onboarding and orientation for this person. I think a lot of the times our mindset is it's domestic work, and especially ladies are born being able to do it. So we suddenly push this person into our space, especially if it's a young girl, she's never had a child. For you, the mother, even doing it, combining work and raising the child is really hard for you. But then you suddenly expect this young girl, anything around 16 to 22, to be able to do all of that. And you come home and already you have the sense of you've missed your child, you haven't been available for the child. And this support person in your house is bonding better with your child. And it triggers some feeling of you're not sure whether you're jealous of the person or whether you want, you know. So I would say build a support system. It's extremely important that you accept help. It's okay if it's okay to have the husband supporting a lot of the things that happen in the house. Thankfully, lately, and I'm seeing that quite a lot, the men are coming along on this journey. I was fortunate in that regard. I had a great support system. It was going in for the early morning meetings, but it was me being able to directly go ask. Now I'm conscious of the fact that there are some spaces that doesn't work. And especially if the organization has made a promise to customers that we'll have our doors open at a particular time. If there are a number of women on that team in their productive age, it becomes almost impossible to grant that to all the women. So making those being available. I changed roles. That's what I did. I changed roles from being in the front office to going into the back office so that it fitted with my life back then. After a number of years, I moved back front office, but I needed to make the choice that enabled me live my life fully in that time of my life when I needed that kind of support. So to the young woman who is considering resigning, I would say look out for choices that support you. In the office space, there are roles, and you can always transfer your skill credibility. You can take what you know now and use it to move into a space that supports the phase of life you're currently in. I also want to tell them, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to have an arrangement with a friend that says, this weekend, the kids are with you, and next weekend, your kids are with me, so that you can breathe and enjoy yourself for a period. It's okay, ask for help. If you do bring somebody, a house help into your space, remember it's employment, and model that great boss that you want in your work life. Don't be that tyrant that this girl sees and is shaking all over the place. You know, so you need to model that. You need to be that support system for your support system.
Great.
You know, yeah.
Talking about not repeating what you condemn in the office at home reminds me of a conversation on a certain platform that I'm on. It's young women in the media, and somebody complained about the experience of many women being bullied, I beg your pardon, by fellow women who end up at the top. Okay, and the irony of this is that those who get to the top as women usually complain about the lack of concern for women while they were not leaders. But when they assume leadership positions, they end up being what they were condemning. But let me come to you, Akufo. There are critics of the affirmative action agenda who say that you make it sound to young girls like you can just enter a system and be given a certain position just because they are a woman. And they say that if you're not careful, in a few years to come, you may have a situation where we now have to be empowering men. on the flip side, I've heard that quite a lot of times. How do we get young girls to understand, Akufo, that this is a competitive environment, and so you can't be lazy and win at it? You've got to push in. You've got to, you know, do a lot of work and share your personal experience in answering that question.
Thank you very much. So I would say from the get-go, I have been ambitious. At 19, I was a council member. At 22, I had co-founded a shelter for women, survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. And at 24, I'm working for the UN. So ambition, first and foremost, is very, very, very important. And understanding that this is a competitive landscape that you have to work towards, that your ambitions have to drive you, is really important. Your ambitions have to drive you in terms of helping you chase after the skills that you need. Because although, for example, in UNFPA, we had this fellowship, it's your skills to get you in. So you still needed to know something. You still needed to be able to prove something. And when you got in, you still needed to prove that you deserve to be there. When you were given a task to do, you have to execute it 100%. And mind you, we are not just women. Like for me, yeah, I'm not just like I understand I'm not just a girl or a woman. I'm a young person with that as well. I'm a young woman. I'm a young woman who is a project manager who supervises people older than me. And so you need to show, for people to understand that they need to listen to this person, they have to see that you are skilled, you are ambitious, you know what you are doing. And you cannot get there if you are not chasing after that skill, if you're not chasing after that ambition. And the second thing is, do not bend yourself for anybody else. And I know that it's easy to do that someone will say that, okay, if I am going to give you this, then just do this for me, or, you know, not just even sexually harassing you, but also using you as a pawn within the workplace. It happens in certain, organizations where someone has employed you, and by the virtue of being employed, you're indebted to the employer. And so you have to bend yourself and bend your values and bend who you are for the person. Do not bend, because at the end of the day, you are not just trying to, keep this job. And I feel that is what sometimes we want to do. We want to feel secure in the job. Mm-hmm. We want to keep it. So we want to do anything for it. But at the end of the day, you are building a legacy. You are building a trajectory. You are building a story for yourself. And for me, I am not in any way at any point in time going to bend myself for anything, because that story I am writing, it has to sound good at the end of the day. When someone picks up my CV, when someone picks up my bio, they want to read it. I am nowhere at the top, as we have said. And so I understand that as I am moving towards that top, or that place that I want to be, my self-actualization point, which is very ambitious. I don't even know if I'll reach there. But as I am moving towards, honestly, like my point of self-actualization is to become the UN Secretary General. And I asked my country rep last year.
Go for it.
Last year, I'm like, his name is Mr. Joel up here. I'm like, Rep, and we call him Rep. I'm like, Rep, do you think I can actually achieve this? He said, yes, of course not. Why not? Why can't you achieve it? And that's one good thing of having, men sometimes as mentors, because they're like, why not? Why not? Like, you can do it. And I have been given that tough skin right up from age of 19, from Dr. Muzu to Joel. I have been given that tough skin to say that you are who you are, and I am giving you this role because of who you are. Do not bend. And so for young people out there, for young women, first be ambitious and chase after those skills, because that's what really matters at the end of the day. So someone can put together an affirmative action bill, program, intervention, but if you're not able to show that you deserve to be in there, you are not going to be in there. The second thing is, do not bend your values for anybody at any point in time, because it will come
could be the best option.
It will come up and ruin you. It will come up and be that thing that they're going to say, okay, all women are like this, right? And if you're a woman, you are getting to the top, this is why, and they can make an example or case of you. And the last thing is, at the end of it all, remember in your person that you are doing all of this for a particular reason. And after all is said and done, we would see that at the end of the day, you have been able to achieve what you want to achieve. You have been able to make it. And I think the last thing I'll say is to chase after opportunities. I feel men chase after opportunities that women do. Research has backed it. Research says so, that you are likely to see a man put in an application for 5 jobs, and then a woman puts in applications for 2. So if you see those opportunities, go after them. Don't say that I am not enough. Don't say that, I will not get it. Chase after those opportunities. You deserve them just as anybody else. And once you're able to do that, you begin to see that gradually you are achieving those things and you're achieving those steps. I think that young women can make it, despite all that people say. And I have been name called, I have been name tagged right from University of Ghana. Like me, my mouth is big, I can talk, and I have vocal. So I have received those name tags, and I'm very assertive. Like, you are not, as a guy, I'm not going to stand there for you to put your hands around me. Like, if I don't give you the consent to, because you'll be touching things on my chest that I don't want you to touch, And even when you're assertive that way in school, sometimes people are like, oh, this girl, she's too known. Oh, this girl, she's like that. Oh, this girl, she's like that. No, know yourself. And do not be afraid of anything. Don't be afraid of those comments, because at the end of the day, these are the same people who are going to come back and say that, that girl, Akose, I really like it because of A, B, and C. So stay tight. It's a very tough terrain, but we'll all make it at the end of the day.
Definitely. Let me come to you, Doc. Efua, Doreen, Akosua have somewhat been giving some tidbits to people in navigating the journey, climbing the ladder of success. I want us to flip it a bit with you, Doc. I want us to talk about mentoring because I think that the 4 of you in your fields are very, very experienced. I consider myself quite low in the ladder in terms of where I want to get to. But I've spoken to a lot of young girls who say, when we approach this one, so we see this person, we think they can help us, they appear too busy. And the other thing is that it appears that a lot of women who have gone through the process and risen to the top either do not want to mentor or don't seem to find a need to spot at least just one talent and approach the person and say, look, I want to help you. I see potential. How do we encourage that in our system?
Okay, so before I address your question, just give me a second to mention something I thought of while others were speaking. I think one of the things also we need to recognize are the structures and systems that exist that make it hard to do some of these beautiful things we're saying. Because I think there are women out there who are as ambitious as Akosia. There are women out there who have support systems, etc., etc. But the systems within the office can sometimes be very, very challenging. One of them spoke about how there's a certain orientation where when a position comes up naturally, it should be going to a man. And the standards for success are often measured by, if you like, masculine criteria. And so if a woman finds herself in that leadership position, she's going to have to tick the boxes of success. And so it's not by default that because she's a woman and she's found herself in a good position, then every other woman beneath her is about to rise up automatically. That woman at the top herself has systemic challenges that she's going to have to reorient herself and learn how to deal with before she can even think about how then can I help those beneath me to also rise. And I think we shouldn't lose cognizance of that fact. The stereotypes we've even been raised to imbibe. They were talking about support systems. I have in-laws who are just amazing. You understand? But I think part of the reason I have been lucky with them the way I have is because I had to unlearn a certain stereotype about in-laws. So if you don't recognize the systemic and structural things that have been put in place, including inside your head, for living in a certain way, you're always going to play into the stereotypes and give everybody a chance to be saying, there is a woman, she's not even doing it any different from the men. And now on to mentorship. So I can give examples from what I've seen others do with me. I have also been very lucky, and as you've heard from the stories here, every one of us here has been lucky to have some good mentors in our lives. What that tells us is that the mentors, they exist. The mentors, they exist. And I would like to put that fact out there. If you're going to mentors who are seeming too busy, it may not be because they don't necessarily want to mentor you. Chances are they are themselves struggling with the systemic things they need to deal with before they can look behind them and help others. And so if the immediate person you have in mind is not that ready to give you that support, I think you should look farther afield. There may be others who may be ready to help you. If you are yourself in a position of leadership as a woman, I think that one of the first things we need to do is to learn the environment we find ourselves in and to see in which ways are there, if you like, leeways by which I can commit to a certain agenda I have in mind. That assumes, of course, that that woman in that leadership position is conscious of wanting to help another person. Leaders have responsibilities that come with their leadership. I don't think any CEO who heads any company in Ghana as part of their job description had a requirement, mentor the young women because you're a woman. They didn't. If they are a man, they don't even have to bother about that because there's a system that already sees the men who are young as the potential leaders anyway. So if you're a man, you don't have quite a problem on that. But if you're a woman, you still have your CEO boxes to take. Oh, we were able to sell so many, we made so many contacts, we produced this much profit. Those must be ticked. And I dare say that unless the woman in that leadership position learns a way to reorient within that system, however much an agenda he or she has for helping those below her, it's going to be very difficult to do. It's not to say, however, that when we find ourselves in leadership positions, we shouldn't want to help. We live in a rather imbalanced world. And so I think that there is an onus on every woman, wherever we find ourselves, however low on the bottom of the ladder we find ourselves, there is still some onus on you to try and make the world slightly better for the next woman, because that person is facing the same imbalances you are facing, probably worse because of the level that they are. And so a bit of a consciousness of the environment you find yourself in and the systemic challenges that exist to stop you from mentoring, but also a bit of a consciousness to say, I got here, I got some support. It means that it is possible to get support. I am going to let myself give a bit of support to the next person down the ladder.
Wow, great. I wish we could go on and on and on, but our time is moving with such speed. But from this session alone, let me just say that from you, Efwa, what I got is be yourself. Doreen, ask for help. And Akosio says, be ambitious and chase after opportunities. We just heard from Doc, who is basically saying, look, if you got to the top, just try and help somebody. And there are people available to help. I really appreciate your time this morning, ladies. And we should do this again. What do you think?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Hopefully, when COVID is over, we can sit, at table and have a heart-to-heart discussion and talk about, more things concerning women and how we can really position ourselves as people of influence in this country and beyond. And of course, we wish you all the best. We'll stay in touch. And also,
thank you.
Yeah. I mean, if we have time, do I have time? Okay, just 1 minute. I would like us talking about Akosia. I would like us to also talk about how we can help track ourselves. How do we track ourselves, Efwa? Each of you will take turns. If you can, just do it in a minute. How do we track ourselves and make sure that we're reaching that goal that we've set for ourselves?
Thankfully, I have a checker. I have a planner and a checker. So at the end of every week, I try to tick the boxes near my plan. Have I been able to achieve this? What can I do better? And I work with a team who is so supportive. We are open with each other. I work with a lot of women, actually. My organization is so gender sensitive, and I have a lot of women in my environment. So we get to review each other's performance. We get to say, oh, sis, look at this. This is what I've done for this week. What do you think? Give me your honest, candid opinion. I mean, we check each other. And so, like Doreen said, we all need the sister support system because it works a lot for me. I have other sisters on this affirmative action bill coalition. We meet from time to time. We review each other's performance. We review what we've done and what we could have done better. We, as I'm on now, some of them are watching at the end of it, or we review whatever we do. Yes, we support each other to that level. And I think it is really important that we women support each other. We check on each other's progress. We check and we give our honest opinions when needed.
Great.
For me, that's what works.
Let me take you in turns. 1 minute each, please. Let's do this quickly so that we can just move on to the next segment.
Okay, let me just go into, this is my prayer journal / like aspirations journal.
Oh, nice.
So it has everything in there. It's on my bed. It's what I see in the morning. So I just put out everything that I want to do. And basically anything that I had put out 5 years ago that I want to do, I'm doing now. So put out your aspirations, put out your dreams, write it. Even it says in the Bible to write it. So write it down. And don't be too hard on yourself if you don't achieve certain things. Because it's life, Don't be too hard on yourself, but write it down and then go back, but you're able to write it down, you're able to visualize, and then you use that as a marker to check yourself and see, how am I doing? Am I doing what I said I would?
Doreen, what about you?
So Akufo has said a very, very important part of it, which is more of the internal bit of it, but also gets external feedback. By my very personality, I don't move until things are very perfect. I'm so conscientiously wired that it works for me to seek to work with a thinking partner. So get a professional coach or a professional thinking partner, one you can bounce your ideas off, one who can identify or question why you're putting certain limits on yourself. So it's critical that you do the very beautiful things that Akufo has said: journal, write what your aspirations, visualize it, but then also get an external perspective to it so that it's both internal and external. I think that's what I would say for now.
Doc, you have the last word.
I tend to introspect a lot. So when I hit my bed, my body is somehow hardwired to not fall asleep until I have sort of mentally recounted the things I said I'll do in the morning. And so I'll go through my day mentally. I am not much of a writing person like Akufo, so probably I'll start that habit. But mentally, I keep track of, this morning I was going to do A, B, C, and D. Which of them did I do to the day? Which of them do I have to follow up? But also, which of them do I really need to not even do? I thought of it, I'll do it, but it doesn't seem that important in the grand scheme of things. So I think a lot more introspection, questioning our decisions, questioning our motives, but also seeing, are we being able to work on them? Every day helps.
Thank you very much, ladies. It's been a pleasure hosting you. I trust that we've been able to help a lot of women up there how to navigate this journey. I've been speaking to Ifwa Chidi. She's advocacy, comms and brands manager at SOS Children's Village, Ghana. Doreen Bafo, CEO of Branch Out. Akufo-Addo, the very ambitious one, is program assistant at the United Nations Population Fund. And Dr. Abna Yeboah is a lecturer at the University of Ghana. Wish you all the best, ladies, and we should stay in touch and do this some other time. Definitely. Enjoy the rest of your day. But you're watching the AM show. Shortly, we'll be crossing over to Roland Walker. We are looking at market prices, the impact of COVID.
We're coming to you from the Makola market, but not the main market itself. We're just trying as much as possible to give you a better eye view of how the market looks like. But we're one of the 31st December Women's Movement markets. This place is called Makola Kwasia Gaso. Okay, Fools Market, Makola Kwasia Gaso. It's a very funny name, but that's how it's been called for several years. Basically, the reason why we're here, we want to just gauge what the mood of the market is. Since March, we've had coronavirus, then the lockdown, we've had restrictions imposed, restrictions now relaxed, and it looks like from the next month, which is just going to begin in 3 days' time, we're going to have normalcy in a way returning, of course, with great caution. Make sure you wear your masks, etc. One thing I can show you is that, well, it looks like the market women, the protocols supposed to be observed are not part of their babies. They're not worried about it. There's this sweetheart of mine here. I would want to ask her one or two before I go in. She sells not in bulk, in smaller quantities, so we can understand. Whatever language they want to speak, we want to speak that language with them. I'm sure it's going to be Akan, Gan, and if any can speak English too, that'll be good. What language do you want to speak? Gan. Gan. What are no Gan? No problem. No me jogbe.
Manka.
Manka. Okay. Ofane me no hon.
Ni hon chinana ni ke beef.
You sell beef. Chinana means that cow leg. Yes, you sell cow leg. Now, can you tell me what was your situation like as somebody who retails meat, chinanani, cow leg, and then just normal beef, tolo beef, just tolo beef? Okay. So what was your situation, let's say from March to about a month ago? That would be around July. What was the market, the pricing, etc.? When they did the lockdown, what did you do?
Oh, na fe lockdown we. Ayeni jala fe basa. China na ni ele nu ho no ni ajo e wo ahe ha wo. E wo jala ahia wo makela ke ehia wo.
So she is saying that when the lockdown came, well, patronage of their wares was at the lowest they could ever find. So did it mean that you also went for lockdown that 2 weeks?
Yes.
No,
wo ba jano wo ba wo jala ni nu ho ni wo ba wo jala dagi.
Well, during the lockdown they came to the market, but no me hu ba here. Were people coming to buy?
Me buy here wa, me buy here.
But I want to ask you about prices. Do you think that from March up to now the prices have increased or reduced? And then now, do you get people buying? Me buy here ni tomo first look.
Me buy here tomo first no. Wo jala da wo ho ni.
What about the prices?
Prices le na kai no wa chake ko prices benu ho le na kai no.
So something like this, how much you sell it?
5 cedis. 5 cedis wo ho le wa chake ko price na kai no no ho le. Wo jala wa chake wo na kai no.
Okay. Man bi ona.
Manka.
Ofane Oradon. Thank you very much, Manka. Well, from Manka, we have to tell you what's being sold. So we have some of them don't sell in bulk. We'll go to the section of the market where they sell in bulk. So we have everything here. You can have granite sold in smaller quantities, and then we also have all these small quantities of, for example, powdered pepper. You can have egusi or agushi or however you want to call it in whichever language as it is. But Mary Mowari. Gan. Ofane tete me jogbe.
Show me comfort.
Auntie Connie, ofane nibi no ohun what you sell. Have the prices increased or not? Agbene Manhyia olo.
First year here was she been in lockdown ba na to first year. E ja ke me pi ba mam. Wo ba kole na ka ya ke wo fe afu aha wo. Wo na fe ni he like amumuko. Wo ba kole na ka.
Well, there's one thing Auntie Connie is saying. Auntie Connie is saying that, you know, when the lockdown came, they also, even though we're coming here, we're not seeing a lot of the patronage. So it also means that definitely there will be less sales being made. I want to ask you about pricing. No, enye no mi enye ho to mo match ke April emi ni agbena ho mi ji prices ni yo.
Like I know, but no hole like a match him look what she got like I know. One me kuno.
Okay, so you haven't increased your prices, you say?
Like I know, I go share like about 10 cedi. Your 3 cedi. Ene 5 cedi. Ene me 5 cedi. Like I know, but look na bag ke blame about one like I know.
Okay, so prices have not changed, at least for the small edibles, the cereals that we have. So, no me, it means that where quantities don't want je kotoku can be.
Yeah, here America enima. Okay, I hear ke full to 15. How many enima ke member full 18. Ya ke wololi ke 3 cedi pay for no. Ya ke wololi ke take ba.
Okay. Auntie Connie for no radon. Well, so Auntie Connie, as for her, she retails, you know. She doesn't buy in bulk or sells in bulk. She goes to Nima, she says buy it in smaller containers, Olonka, America Olonka, as they said it, as they say it in local parlance. The prices she say she retails, the cereal and the things that she sells, the things that she sells haven't changed so much. So it speaks to the broader conversation as to which category of foodstuff may have seen increment in prices, etc. One of the things that I do know that is always patronized is pig feet, and this, for example, comes from varied countries, mainly I think Brazil and some of those countries we have in Latin America, and we have tolo beef, etc. You know what, you're preparing nice fufu. This is where you get some of the best meat, 10 cedi, 5 cedi. But let me just speak to me pacho your frozen. Now, what do you sell?
Pig feet.
Pig feet.
Any beef.
Beef. Now, momo pig feet. No, it's motor was our containers. The one. Containers. So okay, so they buy them in bulk. Those containers from the importers, and the pig feet that you like eating with your fufu, your kokonte, your banku, akple, and the rest. Tiozafi. It's all from those containers. Now, where do you go to buy them? Who are your suppliers?
Yeah, I go for Tema.
Tema. Omo import frozen companies. Omo Tema. Now, for example, you match numuna announcement. Coronavirus. When we had the announcement in March that we had lockdown restrictions, almost the restriction and lockdown about no. Momak mujedi in the net saying.
Hey, and as I said, the area or your cotton if any the area by a free or by a dear, Yanko ye cry. A Janegu. A woo way and told her at limited to one, I from Wada, a brand air sort of coffee. Say Johnny the
no, you know. Not just prices now. Has it changed the prices? Is it that you've increased it, or because you get it high from the supplier? So,
I wanted your motumo. I've been so been soon new hobium. If it's a lockdown by and no more to bother until moment to make cobium. And think Kakrana or almost so much to Muntiaman, a cosramay.
Into container nanka a cannon no more funny and before much and I'm more funny and see and more funny and mutumu some mutu chanas and motona.
First, I had to me find 9 million, 8 million, but I see now quite 11 million.
So they used to have those containers full of the Nande pig feet, taken from the wholesalers at 800 Ghana cedis, 900 Ghana cedis. Now it's gone to 1,100 in excess Ghana cedis. It also means that this will have a reflection on the price. So I want to ask her individually on these bulk collections how much she sells them. And Ketsuana or Shishanisiano Motona. When you know, normal beef nana and then in Chinimuno. Okay, into ways of Motona.
Get on 5 million.
They've been pattern in Kitwana.
5 cities.
5 cities. Okay.
5 cities, 5 cities, 10 cities.
Oh, not just as for this one, it means that you haven't increased the prices, Anna.
No, no.
Okay. Wait a minute, normal. Then pick feet, no match now out on. See out on.
I am too more. Send an air tongue on a son, air tongue. Say, Johnny, can you want to move a baby? I want the end and crank.
Mpacho meda wase mpacho afre same view abena meda se abena. So nane, you know, you go to Heavy Do and the rest, you get to see this. What a way prepared, you know, you box it with a nice soup, you know, fufu, kokonte. I'm a great lover of kokonte. You get it nice. So they sell everything really in the market, and the camera will just give you a better view of what it is. Great display of food, everything you can think of. And while we have snails, bobo, and we also have the rest. And all these, all available right here at the Makola Kwasia Grasso Market. That's the real name of the market. So they sell everything here. You have salmon, you have tunas, you have everything that you can find when it comes to what the trade is. And let me just ask, Madam, come closer to me so that we'll see whether we can have some conversation. It's just basically about the prices. You know, who prices, I've seen Kobe, That's salted fish. And then this one should be kako, eh? Kako, okay. Kakoni, nice. And then we have okay, shrimps, nicely roasted. For me, your prices, no, what are you selling and what are the prices? So this one is olonka, half olonka or what?
Olonka and a half olonka. Olonka near 60, half near 30. Okay. And I'm more cost. And also my 20, half. And I'm more 15. And I'm more. Maybe I train a 5, maybe I train a 10. And I would do 60, half year 30. And I'm money. Kobe no to be an no 5 home, 15 dear home. Kakono so 1 cedi, 2 cedi.
But lockdown on Obahana.
Na Obapa.
Okay, what your saying?
Naomi.
Medase. So that's Naomi just taking us through the prices of her wares, or the things she's selling. Basically sells all things fish. So she is not the main manager for this big store. So if you want to come to the Makola Jaso, please, you will come to Naomi, and you have everything. But look, when you're eating, there's one thing I don't find a lot of taste in it, but people tend to like it. We're talking wele. I've just spotted some wele retailer. So we'll go to the beautiful woman selling the wele and also ask her some few questions. What have we seen since the lockdown? How have we had prices changing? What are her experiences? We also have Agbelima and all of them. This one too is Kondo, Cassava dough, and this one is Kokonte. Kokonte. Please, Mary Mobile. What are you saying?
Yes, Bronya. Antiesi Bronya.
Antiesi Bronya. The Bronya is a bow. So she's called Antiesi Bronya, and we have, look, this is available. Kokonte is also available. This is the raw one. No?
This one.
TZ. TZ. Say it, let me see. TZ. TZ.
Yes.
Yeah, great. You know, sometimes. Well, so and TSA is going to take us through. Look, we want to eat some fine banku. You know, mix the Kondo, Agbelema mixed with, you know, this will box it well. If you don't like that one, you can take Kokonte as well. And I tell you, you're going to enjoy it. And TSC, just take us through your prices. In March, no mobile. No mobile. Lockdown in you know.
Oh, yeah, Bania, motion, yes, and Shaba.
You're not supposed to come during lockdown. You were not supposed to.
See, I said you are not from the Mumra.
Okay. So, so how much is this?
2 cedi, 4 cedi, 5 cedi, 10 cedi, 20, 15, 25. Yeah, so
this is 10 cedis, and this is Kondo.
Kondo, 10 cedi. This is 15 cedis.
15?
Yes, this one 25.
25? Yes.
And 5 cedi, 5 cedi.
Yeah, and Yesi Blonya, your English has come. Continue that way for me. Now, have you seen prices changing? March numuna lockdown and never hono. And then things are reducing. You know, have we seen prices?
I
didn't try because all the cost right now. Who increase the price?
Roland Walker there interacting with some traders around the Mokola market. You're watching the AM show. Don't go away. We have more for you when we come back First Atlantic Bank is 25 years in Ghana. We say happy anniversary to them, but we'll be hearing from some of the staff and management. Don't go away.
So we're here to engage First Atlantic Merchant Bank as part of activities marking their 25 years in existence as a bank. And I have with me here the board chair of First Atlantic Bank, Amakwe Amase. Thank you so much for having time to engage us in terms of how the bank has fared so far. Let me first ask you can you walk us through the bank and plans in terms of commemorating the Silver Jubilee as a bank, sir?
Okay, thank you for giving us this opportunity. Before I highlight specific activities that First Atlantic Bank is organizing for this Silver Jubilee celebration, I'd like to briefly share with you and your listeners an overview of First Atlantic Bank in terms of the operational evolution over the past 25 years, and then elaborate on the mission, vision, core values, and service proposition that we offer to our customers. Okay. And then after that, we can go into some of the other issues. Okay.
So can you just walk us through this bit where you're trying to explain to us, sir?
Okay. The First Atlantic Bank was originally registered in late 1994 and started operations in 1995. So for the most part, from 1995 to 2011, it operated as a merchant bank with limited services. Now in 2011 to 2012, it acquired a universal banking license. It also had a strategic investor brought in to help it meet the minimum capital requirements of Bank of Ghana, and then launched itself as a universal bank, offering, in addition to the merchant banking services, commercial and full retail services. So since then, it has actually grown quite rapidly, and the changes have occurred in about 3 phases. The first phase was to stabilize and consolidate itself as a bank. And so for the most part, from 2014 to 2016, this was what was happening. Then it started an expansion program, which is phase 2, which is 2016 to 2019. In the midst of that was the restructuring, the banking exercise. So it had to recapitalize. And it recapitalized based on a merger with the former Energy Commercial Bank. And now, after that's behind it, it's now fully established as a bank. It's met all the minimum capital requirements of the Bank of Ghana, and now we are in the expansion phase and in a digitization phase. And ultimately, the plan is to go global from Ghana. Okay.
And talking about the 25 years, you have actually been able to walk us through some of the critical milestones that you've chalked as a bank. Has it been all that smooth for the bank in terms of 25 years? So there have been some challenges, but indeed you've managed to sail through and weather the storm as a bank. And that's what has made you a bank, a strong bank like this today.
Yes, as I said, the first phase, or the first period till up to 2012 or 2011 was basically First Atlantic Bank operating as a merchant bank, and it had a number of challenges there. Now, I can say that after the transition to a universal commercial bank and the introduction of a strategic investor recapitalization, things have been pretty smooth in terms of expansion. And I can demonstrate it with some of the statistics, if you don't mind.
Well, you can explain to us in terms of those that you want to explain to us as a bank, and how you've been able to sail through some of these things, and how that has brought you this far as a bank in 25 years of operations as a commercial bank. So you can just walk us through in terms of these numbers that you're talking about.
Okay, so from the beginning, you're talking about a bank with about 6 branches. Right now, we are in the order of about 35 branches. And we are in 4 different locations in Ghana, as opposed to just Accra. We are in Accra, Takoradi, Kumasi, Techiman, and Tamale. Okay, now in terms of customers, from the time First Atlantic Bank got the universal banking license, started operating as a universal bank, The customers have gone from about 8,000 or 9,000 to currently over 100,000 customers. In terms of total deposits, we've gone from about 166 million in 2012, and we're now over 2.3 billion. Okay? And in terms of profitability, profit before tax, from 5 million to over 70 million. And now we are doing loans of the order of maybe 500 million cedis. Okay, so each of these statistics shows that as a universal banking organization, we are on the growth path. Of course, there have been various challenges, such as meeting the new requirements for recapitalization. And as I said, this was handled through a merger with another bank, and that process is now worked its way through. Now we are repositioning ourselves for the digital banking challenge. And then in the light of the Africa Continental Free Trade, we are also getting ready to move on a regional basis, okay?
And you talk about the expansion. So one would ask that all other things being equal, what period are we looking at you stepping on that paddle to roll out to these other markets in the region in terms of First Atlantic Bank?
You're talking about now or in the future?
Talking about the expansion drive. I mean, what period, not date, I'm looking at what period are you working with that will look at this expansion into other markets?
In the future?
Yeah.
Or in the future, what we're talking about, the next, we have a strategic plan, a corporate strategic plan, where most of these will be put in place. All the various underpinning tools will be put in place between now and 2023. Hopefully 2023, if things have stabilized in light of COVID, the plan was to go for an IPO, okay, and to raise more capital and then expand in the sub-region. Okay, so these are still on track. Of course, we're still in the midst of this COVID pandemic, so things will be adjusted as and when necessary.
In 5 years, do you think that you have solidified? I've seen very great numbers. Have you been able to solidify your position here in the country as you spring aboard to other markets?
Yes, I would say from 2012 to now, the bank has now stabilized and solidified its position as a universal bank. Okay, the challenge ahead is in terms of going regional, okay, and that's by virtue of the regionalization and regional integration, and then also to go digital, offer a digital banking platform. That's the only way it can cope. Now, First Atlantic wants also to ultimately be among the first-tier banks in Ghana, which means that we are among the 5 most efficient banks, and also in terms of size within the top 10. Okay, and all of this we are talking about in the next 5 to 10 years.
Tell me how you are integrating digital technology into this whole drive in terms of moving on. What role is it going to play in this expansion and moving on as a bank after 25 years?
Okay, this is central. I mean, the whole idea of digital banking is central to the growth of First Atlantic Bank. Now, in the first place, we have taken steps, okay, over the last few years to get all the technology and systems in First Atlantic Bank, banking systems, up to date and compliant with international standards for banking, for security, and for business process automation. Now, we've also created a new business unit. So First Atlantic now has a digital banking business unit that is now working to integrate end-to-end banking transactions on digital platform. And to help that, we have an innovation center, which is a specialized unit that's been created that now works solutions inside First Atlantic and also networks with other fintechs, both in Ghana and externally, to draw the best practice and apply it in our system. So these are what I would call the platforms that are being created, digital platforms, so that we envision being one of the premier digital banking organizations in Ghana in the next 5 or 10 years.
Talking about next 5 or 10 years, so what should Ghanaians also be expecting from you going forward after 25 years of operations? What should we expect from you in terms of excitement and product offering and services and whatnot?
Okay, well, First Atlantic has always had a service mantra, which is what we call the purple experience, okay? And if you see the logo, it says refreshingly different. Now, in this context, going digital, offering most of our, or all of our products, digital platforms, being right next to the customer. We have something what we call the eye care. Okay, so there are various things that we do across the board within the staff to make sure that each customer has a pleasant banking experience, hassle-free, and also, I would say within the digital space, just in time, everything automated. So this is how First Atlantic is actually differentiating itself. Although we're small, we know with these basic practices, we are going to get where we say we will be, which is a first-tier bank within the Ghana space. Now, on top of that, we have Pan-African shareholding, who are from the sub. We have an institutional investor from Nigeria, and then a private equity fund investor that is also from West Africa. Now, we also have fintech partners, one in Nigeria and several in Ghana. So all of these linkages are forming the sort of the platform to transition to a fully functional digital banking experience that First Atlantic strives to be.
A final word for customers and even the public and those who are on the verge of becoming your customers and your clients.
Well, let me just read through the service mantra, and so that you can get the different dimensions of what we hope to offer to them. As I said, we have a service mantra, purple experience, but it's embodied in what we call eye care to each customer. And we serve you, each customer, with integrity, with customer-focused attention, and also we are agile. That's why we're doing a digital, and we're also preparing ourselves to be resilient during this transition. In fact, during this COVID period, we have actually been growing, okay, because we've stepped up the offering on digital and mobile banking. And at each stage of the banking cycle, we try to offer excellence in everything we do. We have a suite of 8 different banking products. We also have affiliated companies that are into asset management and brokerage. So we are a full-service bank, and like I said, through the work we're doing on digitization, we can assure every customer of hassle-free banking. We kicked off the Silver Jubilee
Judge Riafe, with that conversation, it's now time to bring you some show business. Kadi is standing by. Remember the Mahama hit maker, is it? Nana Boro? Okay. Well, he's rebranded, guys. So I don't want to spill the beans. He's got a new look and a new name. Kadi will be speaking to him. Do stay on.